If you run a business, you're in sales, you're on a sales team, or you have a sales team, I'm going to share with you guys today in this value-packed episode a few things that are going to be incredibly helpful. I've been doing sales for about a decade now, but more specifically, I've been leading sales teams for about 7-8 years, and I became a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming. And it's all about human behavior, effective communication, how the subconscious mind works, becoming a better teacher, because we learn how people receive information. And also we learn how to transfer information in a way that it is received. So oftentimes if you are in sales, you may have been this person, maybe you are this person, you've probably definitely seen this person, but it's someone who maybe they're a very, very fast talker, or maybe they're a very slow talker. And what happens is they resonate with people that are much like them. You see, I'm naturally a fast talker, so when I'm speaking, I try to be very intentional, whether it's one-to-one on a sales call or one-to-many, like this podcast is going to be. I'm very intentional about speaking in a way that's going to resonate with different learning styles, different ways that people receive information. And this actually came from one time I was doing sales. This was in 2017, and I was talking to this lady, and she's like, "Son, you talk very fast." And I was like, okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I kept talking, and she's like, "I told you to slow down." And my response, to be very transparent about this, I said, "Well, I can't just change the way that I speak. This is how I've always talked." And this is before I had any sort of formal training on sales. This was any of that stuff. I was just doing sales. And looking back at it, what a horrible response I had that was all out of ego and all out of pride. But even if I didn't respond that way, I would have still probably lost the sale because I'm not resonating with her. You've probably heard of matching and mirroring. What you can do is you can match body language, you can mirror tonality, and all that stuff is very great, but that's surface level. You start to get a little bit deeper in sales and you learn the surface level skills and tactics on how to do stuff like that. But becoming a master practitioner of NLP, all the tactics go out the window and it goes straight human behavior. If you understand someone's pains, their fears, their desires, their struggles, you don't need to use tactics or techniques or strategies to resonate with that person. All you need to do is understand them and speak to them in a way that they want to be understood by. And you see, it's very different. The misconception that a lot of people have is, I do understand my audience. I do understand the person because I have the solution to their problem. And that's great, but it's one thing to understand someone. It's a whole nother thing to make that person feel understood. How do we do this though? I always want to get into the tangible. What you need to do is you need to slow down your rate of speech. You need to slow down your question asking even, and you need to get into a rhythm of asking that person a question and then diving deeper into it. And it would sound something like this. Hey, Cody, so you mentioned that you're struggling with sales calls here. Let me ask you a question. Are you struggling with the open? Is it the close, or kind of somewhere in between? And I just made that up right now on the fly. But what it is I'm repeating back to them, hey, I heard you and I'd like more clarification. And this is something that you can use even in your personal life. You're talking to your spouse or girlfriend. Hey, babe, I heard you say that you feel like we don't have enough time together. Can you show me, or can you tell me what that looks like? What would be an ideal moment for us to spend this time together? They might say, "Oh, I don't know, just more time." Okay, totally get it. Is it more time kind of like, after work or before? Like, what do you envision? I want to make sure that we can be on the same page and work together here. And when you do this, you become a master problem solver. The best salespeople are not the most articulate. They're the most able to solve problems. I'm going to say that again. The best salespeople are not the most articulate. They're the best at solving problems. And when you see objection handling as problem solving, the way that you show up is different. Because now when you hear things like, "I can't afford it," and you reframe that to, "How can I afford this?" You're now not talking against that person in a combative way, but you're working with them. You're guiding them to the finish line. Because the truest form of sales, you should be a master or an expert at whatever it is that you're selling. And that vehicle, AKA your product or your service, should be the thing that gets them from where they're at to where they want to be with the least amount of pain possible. When you understand this, the way that you sell changes completely. They're in a certain situation. I'm going to use my offer, for example. They're not crushing sales. They want to crush sales. How do I get them there with the least amount of pain? Well, number one, I need to identify what is pain for that person. What does their pain look like? Because my pain might be, the least amount of money. Their pain might be with the least amount of time invested onto a sales call. So the way that I would coach that person is completely different. But again, I need to understand that person through deliberate question asking to figure out exactly how to understand their pain, how to identify that, and then how to speak to it specifically. The best salespeople are the ones that can adapt on a sales call. I mentioned this earlier, here's where I tie this all back together and close this loop. I mentioned that it's very easy for me to speak to someone who's like me. Maybe they're a fast talker, they're young, but can you build rapport with someone who's not like you? That's the test of a true salesperson. And with what I'm saying here, if I am doing this in a manner where their pain is, I don't have a lot of money, the way that I need to speak to that person is overcoming the objection about, number one, identifying what is a lot of money because it's all relative. And number two, I would sell based on the cost of an action. Well, let me ask you this, Cody. I understand this is a lot of money. How much money is this actually costing you every month by not closing the deals that you want to close? Probably, I don't know, maybe $5,000 or $10,000. Okay. So now I know that if they're losing $5,000 or $10,000 made, I'm going to speak to that money lost as money not made. And money not made is money lost. So now if they're losing $5,000 or $10,000 a month and my offer is $7,500 for a 3-month package, they're getting access to me for 3 months for in between the baseline of what they're losing. And now everything on top of that $7,500 is all profit. And a tangible example, if they're losing $10,000 and I get them to agree to that because that's based on their sales calls, their closing rate, and the amount that they actually close, they're losing $10,000, but I charge $7,500, they're actually only losing $2,500. So it feels like they're investing $7,500, and they are, but what we're doing is we're showing them, hey, by you doing this, you go from losing $10,000 a month to only $2,500 a month, and every month thereafter, you're gaining on top of that because you have these skills. You've paid me one time of $7,500, but now you have these skills that are probably going to make you $100,000 plus over the course of your lifetime in sales. And realistically, if they're losing $5,000 to $10,000 a month, this is probably going to make them $500,000 to $1 million plus in their career in sales or running a business. But I always want to play it conservative. One of the best things you can do on sales calls is not be that guy or girl that overpromises, that promises the moon, you're going to get this and this and this, and it's going to be in 30 days. We've heard that. We're tired of that. Just be ethical. Just be ethical. The way that you close everyone is by helping the people that need your help and letting everyone else go. Sometimes a close is you're closing the loop for someone that you actually don't need sales training right now. You need to get your marketing and your lead flow in order first. Sometimes the best close for someone is, hey man, you need to keep going at what you're doing. Here's a free resource. Come back to me in a month once you've stacked up some more money. So we're not taking food off your table just to invest in this training. And I've seen oftentimes where people will, encourage someone to put all their money on a credit card or take out loans. Dude, that stuff, sometimes, yeah, we need to do it. I've done it. I've been in situations where I had to put my last penny out to make money, and I've seen returns from it. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, but I was willing to undergo that risk. So you need to identify, if you're helping someone make that decision, are you doing the best thing? Are you doing right by that person you're speaking to? Or are you just doing that for a paycheck? Because God will reward you if you're able to turn down people that are not right for you. But when you're trying to sell everyone, now you actually become manipulative. I believe that you can close someone, you can be using all these different sales techniques and strategies all you want, but if they don't want the product or service, they're not going to buy it. You can't force someone, what is your credit card? Buy this right now. It doesn't work that way. So simply reframe you selling to you serving. And I believe it's a Norwegian word, sell, the root word is selge, to serve. And when you really think about this, the way that I can serve people at the highest level is by selling them. You guys are watching a free piece of content right here. This is great advice for a lot of you guys if you'll take it, but there's 1 or 2 bits of advice that you're going to take on a general scale. But if I'm listening to your actual sales call recording, how much more ability are you going to have to understand what I'm saying? Some people just want to learn how to speak better. You probably noticed here that I've rarely, if maybe not even at all, used or like in any of my sentences here because I'm choosing every single word that I use. The words might sound like they're flowing, and they are, but I'm choosing each word intentionally. I'm understanding the power of brevity. If I can say something in a sentence of words, I'm not going to use 3 sentences with a bunch of filler to say the same point. I also understand that when I learned communication, when I learned effective selling, my income went up, my quality of life went up because now I can network in a different way. I can talk to my girlfriend in a different way and show her how much I value her, because a lot of times our inability to communicate comes from an inability to actually connect, which is driven from root beliefs or subconscious values, beliefs, decisions, etc., that are keeping us stuck. And these are driven from fears that we have of being vulnerable, fears that we have of being enough, not being enough, fears that we have of rejection, of abandonment. So what I teach in all of my curriculum, dude, it's, as you guys probably are hearing, it's way past sales. What it is though, we're diving deep into what are your limiting beliefs that you have about life, around finances, around communication, around selling. We identify those roots. We rip out the roots, not just take the fruit. A lot of people teach objections. That's just changing the fruit. If you take out an apple off an apple tree, it's going to produce a new apple, which is going to be the same exact thing because the roots are still there. We rip out the roots and we re-implant everything with new empowering beliefs about who you are and who God's created you to be. We do all of that stuff. We work on effective communication and at a high level, human behavior. Why do people do what they do? Why do people say what they say? How do people respond in a certain way based on when you say X? And one of the most powerful things that we can do, we break down your entire script line by line. I hear you say every word. I identify where you're not saying it with conviction. I identify where we can change it up. And instead of maybe being too salesy, we can put an indirect story in there. Where can we incorporate social proof, authority? Where can I inject the cost of inaction? And these are all things you guys can, those last 4 or 5 things I said, you can take that, put into ChatGPT and help you. If you're in a position where you want to just get something started, I want you guys to get free value from this. But for those of you guys that are ready to take it to the absolute next level, you want to master closing, or you want me to teach your sales team in a corporate environment or non-corporate, but you have more than 2 salespeople, and you want me to help them get very, very sniper-like and great at understanding human behavior, communication, and stop just spewing out their words like a shotgun, but going back in to that 1 kill close right there. That's where I come in. Message me for more information. Would love to hear from you. Bye-bye.